certainly, the 21st century learning environment certainly is not about four walls and rows of desks, and that would be certainly not a surprise to people that come to something like this. To me, it's much more of an issue about habits of mind, which Mike referenced earlier, the sorts of things kids are doing in his district. By the way, Scarsdale is doing things much more advanced in many districts, and I'm certainly I'm happy to be a neighbor to see if we can catch up in some of those areas, because kids are really thinking, and the issue of habits of mind, for me, is very important in terms of how kids are going to develop and grow and flourish in the 21st century. Specifically, let me give a scenario of a group project that I see as an example of the 21st century learning environment. It's groups of kids working in small groups. They're middle schoolers, imagine. They're speaking in several different languages in the same room together. They're working on solving a problem that's been posed to them by their teacher, let's say. For instance, maybe it's delivering a plane load of antibiotics to a small remote village, and they have to deal with the obstacles, and some of the obstacles, and they have to come up with a whole scenario that includes logistical obstacles and political obstacles and historical obstacles and those sorts of things. Working on projects like that, to me, is the kind of thing that then, and at the end of it, they have to demonstrate, at the end of a semester, or maybe it's not, we don't call them semesters anymore, but at the end of some period of time, they have to demonstrate some mastery. So it's not just a freewheeling, do whatever you want, but there are certain levels of mastery they have to hit, but they're doing projects like that. Let me give you an example. I mentioned earlier the Nokia and Pearson partnership that has helped us. Well, one day, so naturally I'm invited to visit all the time, and kids like to see me. And so I went in, and there was this young middle school kid in this case, kid that came from Haiti a few years ago, and he was working with his phone, and then he had it linked to the computer. He was doing some editing, and so his project that he developed was what it would be like if the city of White Plains had more bike paths. Bike paths are good. It's green. It's good, right? He's a kid. He wants to ride his bike. Great. So he shows me in like a 2.5-minute piece how he looked at the bike paths of Copenhagen, which he showed me on his phone, and then looked at, and then Google mapped White Plains. He had this done in advance, but there's a Google map. He lays it out flat, 3D, and then has all the drawings where he thinks the bike paths could go. Pretty cool. And this is a kid that is going to be doing a lot as a civil engineer in the future. And then finally, in terms of the sort of thing that I see in the 21st century, is the division between students and teachers, or students and adults, is changed. So for instance, an example is, I have a student technology advisory group. I meet with them. They love meeting with the old man, you know, and I meet with them at the high school, and they are my advisory group. And we have pizza together, and we talk about issues. We don't talk about what closets we should put the routers in and stuff like that. We talk about big picture issues, gaming theory, how it has an impact on education, and they love talking about that stuff. And then they do things like nuts and bolts projects and say, hey, we can fix all those old computers the city has, and we can give them out to people at the shelter, and then they'll do stuff like that. But they feel empowered by working with me. I know it's not me, but it's the position, but still, it's a great way for students and adults to work together. That's part of the 21st century environment, I believe. And a question that I leave is, how do we demonstrate in this new environment mastery? So, you know, I think that New York State is not necessarily headed in the right direction of having high-stake tests that everyone will take and will determine whether one is or isn't ready to graduate from high school. I'd rather pose the question again, how do we demonstrate